Hello everyone and welcome to the Hunter Association, your source for all things Hunter x Hunter. My name is Kaige.
And my name is Dylan.
And in today's episode we'll be covering volume 33 titled Threats, as well as one chapter from volume 32 just to cover all of the post-anime content. So real quick before we even get into the volume discussion, I do want to talk about news on this show, what little there is of Hunter x Hunter these days. But this week we actually do have something small. There's a 40th anniversary thing for Dragon Ball going on. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, Dylan, before today. But it's basically this project to get a different mangaka to redraw every volume cover of Dragon Ball. This has been going on for several years. And Togashi released his this week, which is a recreation of volume 5. Have you seen this before, Dylan?
Yeah, no, I've seen the image floating around a little bit on Twitter, and I didn't know too much about it, but now I'm informed, and it is very, very cool to see.
Yeah, it's a really nice one. I like how he added going in the back there.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, nice little combination of both art styles, it feels like. You see a lot of the Toriyama inspiration in this specifically as well.
Yeah, so. He drew Goku really, really well. That's a very good Goku.
For sure.
There is also a comment he wrote with this, but a reliable translation isn't really out there yet. I've been waiting on Kanzenshu to translate it, which is a very reliable Dragon Ball fan site. They haven't gotten around to it yet, but I did find one random one on Twitter, which I guess I'll read anyways. I don't know how reliable this is, but yeah, it's probably the gist of it at the very least. So Togashi says with this Drawing this was so enjoyable that it felt like I was back in those days. Once I was done, I snapped back to reality and nearly cried. So I quickly read Dragon Ball Volume 5 that was right in front of me. Yeah, I'm not lonely. Toriyama-sensei is right here.
Aww.
So very sweet.
That's so sweet, actually.
Yeah, I love that. Very nice. But yeah, really nice illustration. And other news, every week we'll also talk about the manga updates that he's been posting on Twitter. This week there wasn't a whole lot. He finished drafting chapter 416, and he started working on 417. He's only up to page 3 or 4 at this point of 417, so not a whole lot. And earlier this week, oh sorry, what'd you say?
I was just saying progress is progress, though.
Yeah, that's right. I'll take anything at this point. And 416 finished being inked earlier this week.
Very nice.
Nothing crazy. Yeah, it's good to hear any progress, like you said. All right, and so before we get into the volume again, just real quick temperature check. How'd you feel about this volume, Dylan?
So, the volume as a whole, you mean from what I read to 350, right?
Right, yeah, including that one chapter.
Okay, yeah. So it's so interesting to be back in the world of Hunter x Hunter in general, and that's always a good feeling, I think, especially coming off of being an anime only essentially for the most part. Yeah. It's really interesting stuff, and I'm really curious to see where it goes. The biggest takeaway that I have coming from it though is I forget how political the entire series gets around this point. And that's even coming off of the chairman election, especially.
Yeah, the chairman election arc is a lot like this too, Tony.
Right. But it's when you think back on Hunter x Hunter, you don't necessarily think of the chairman election. Speaking as someone who only watched the anime, you think of literally everything else. So it's just interesting to get back into it and just see how much politics was going on and how that's just kind of the main focal point in general.
For now.
Super interesting. Yeah, for now, obviously. And I have no doubt we'll get back into more action-oriented stuff later. It's just so interesting to see how Togashi transitioned into that kind of atmosphere, though, in general. And so
it
that was
is very interesting. It was a pretty big, hard pivot, honestly.
Yeah,
just swerved right into a whole political thing. Pretty much from the beginning of chairman election until the end of this volume, and even beyond, really. I mean, we're not done with politics by any stretch of the imagination.
There's a whole nation at work here.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm about the same. This is a very interesting volume. There's a lot of... It's very dialogue heavy, obviously, which is it's normal for Hunter x Hunter, but it's pretty, dare I say, boring dialogue in some cases. It's a lot of...
There's some egregious examples of the yappening, as we like to call it at times.
Yeah, I will point it out as we go through in a bit, but there's a lot of examples of information given that is not important or necessary, which Togashi loves to do that. He's a very detail-oriented person, but it's very much at play in this volume, and it's noticeable, to say the least. So yeah, this volume... I didn't talk to you about this before, Dylan, but this includes the entirety of an arc that fans like to call the Dark Continent Expedition arc. How is it an arc? It's not. I don't know why we call it this. What is the story being told?
This is the Enies lobby of Hunter x Hunter, I see.
Yeah, like post Enies lobby. I don't know, man. It's... whatever. It's an arc, I guess. It's 9 chapters. It starts from the very first chapter that we're going to cover all the way until they figure out who the traitor and the Zodiacs is. See, that's the ending of the arc.
That's so interesting to me, though, because this just feels like the setup of an entire arc to me.
Yeah, it's the setup of what will probably be the Dark Continent Expedition arc. I feel like we're calling an arc that way too early because the expedition hasn't happened yet.
That's my point of view on it as well, but what do I know,
Yeah, we're going to go with it, though, so that's what we're covering today. One last thing before we get into it. You want to talk about the volume cover a little bit?
The volume cover, yeah.
Oops, I just moved it on our document. Hold on.
You're talking about the volume 33 cover, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, very, very good. I mean, it's the classic Togashi art style. That's going to be good no matter what. But... I don't know. Kurapika just has that aura with him, and that kind of carries into the cover itself. It's very clean.
It's very nice. I really like this cover. It's great colors on it.
Yeah. It's very. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's not as bright as some other covers may be, and there's something interesting about that to me. It's very. I don't know. I can't find the word to describe it, but yeah, it's very blue for sure.
It is. Yeah. By the way, did you know his suit was blue when you were reading it? Or
no,
did you think it was black?
I thought it was black. It was black until this time.
I thought it was black until Jump Force came out. He had the blue suit and that. Yeah, I never thought it was blue.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, the more you know.
Yeah. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into the volume. All right. So... we start immediately where the anime left off. Beans, our boy, our little green boy, he comes into the Zodiac conference room, cutting off Cheadle, who was about to make an announcement of her own, saying he has a very important announcement. So he gets he doesn't actually get the DVDs yet, but he just plays a video out of nowhere of the Kakin Empire's king, Gyoro, I believe. Gyoro. Okay. I will be referring to him as the king from now on.
Probably a good idea for both of our sakes.
There's some wild names in this arc, and I do not need to waste my breath on one of these. Okay, so in the video, he talks about the potential, humanity's potential. Wait, hold on. How do I phrase this? Like the future of humanity's potential in the Dark Continent, and he proposes an expedition. The Tiger Zodiac Kanzai, which, I'm sure you don't remember.
But the Zodiacs specifically are kind of hard to remember until kind of the later chapters when some of them are obviously more relevant than the others.
Some of them get more relevant. Yeah.
This one's not one of them though.
No, he kind of looks like oh my god, wait, what am I even thinking of? He reminds me of somebody from My Hero. Oh my god, who even is it? Oh, whatever, I'm not gonna waste my time. He reminds me of somebody from My Hero. Anyways, he doesn't know what the Dark Continent is at all somehow. So the Snake Zodiac Gel, probably Gel, and Ox Zodiac. This is one we actually will need to remember. His name is Mizai Stom.
Mizai Stom, yeah.
Which he is often referred to as just Mizai among the Zodiacs. So that's probably what I will call him also.
Gotcha.
Just kind of rolls off the tongue better. They fill him in. And basically it's the same explanation we got from Jing at the end of the anime, if you recall. It is a place that is, well, okay, do we know from the anime about how it's surrounding the whole continent that they're on, or no?
I don't remember. That specifically is very foggy in my head right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, regardless, they explain that magical beasts are said to originate there, which we've seen throughout the series a little bit. Just, especially in the if you guys remember the opening, the very early on opening where they had that narration before the opening played.
Oh yeah,
that's something they talked about a lot there. There was several expeditions in the past, which we'll go into more later, which all ended in disaster, and a treaty was signed by the V5 200 years ago stating that no further expeditions would take place. Cheadle states that Kakin may not have signed the treaty, and that 30 years ago, the Kakin Empire made a transition from social imperialism to parliamentary democracy during what she calls the most silent revolution in history, thus technically becoming a new nation. So this is all speculation on her part, but she thinks that Kakin never signed the treaty to begin with because of technicality. Because at the time they wouldn't have been their own nation. Yeah. At the time they just became their own nation, technically on paper. So they
pretty much
wouldn't have had to sign it.
Pretty much ties into the loophole that they kind of go into later about how they're even legally able to try and go explore the Dark Continent in general without breaking any rules that were established.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. So the king continues, shocking everyone by saying that the expedition team will be led by former chairman Isaac Netero's son, Beyond Netero. He has a very cool design, and a sick name. I love this guy right off the bat. He has a very strong presence. Yeah,
he's there's something about his attitude and just the way he's immediately presented as this kind of cocky personality, but also very enduring personality as well. I don't know. There's something about him that as soon as you see him and as soon as he starts talking, he immediately captures your attention as okay, this guy is you can tell he's the real deal in terms of how smart he is, how capable he is, and that only continues the show further as we get further into the volume, I think. But yeah, it was a really strong impression for me.
It was, it's a really good introduction. The Zodiacs had no idea that Netero had a son. They didn't even know he had family at all, actually, living family. So that had to be a very big surprise.
That's an insane secret to keep, by the way. For that long.
Yeah, no kidding. I know. I wish we knew more about why he was even kept the secret.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
We don't get into that. They have their doubts that he even is their son, but any doubts are casted aside whenever they see his face and hear the way he talks, because apparently this is kind of hard to tell on paper, but the way he carries himself is just a lot like Isaac Netero, who we know is just Netero, but we kind of have to differentiate them now.
Yeah, there's two now, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Beyond begins a speech encouraging anyone and everyone to come to Kakin to embark on the journey to what he calls the New World. So One Piece reference, obviously, there. They're going to Fishman Island.
Yeah, I hope not. That's a whole thing in and of itself. But yeah. Let's hope that's not the destination.
Hopefully not. He promises equal opportunity to anyone willing to go with him, and even goes as far to say as that anyone who comes with him will be his family. So very reassuring person. Yeah,
it's weird. He's kind of acts like a king himself almost, and then the way he kind of carries.
Very much so, yeah.
How he wants to gather support for his cause specifically. It's really interesting.
He's kind of running circles around the king himself here.
Yeah. And then we'll see even further with the Hunter Association itself, how he kind of has everybody wrapped around his finger in some degree.
Yeah. Such an interesting character.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Zodiacs are feeling all kinds of ways about seeing this. A lot of them are very shaken up. One of them is even crying, I remember. And then Beans reveals, I love his name, Beans. That's such a good name.
Yeah, very simple. I love him though.
It's great. So Netero left behind 2 DVDs, one of which we already saw in the anime, actually, if you remember, which is basically just like a normal, just like a farewell message, nothing special about it, really.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and this one is a lot more extravagant. So Netero told Beans to show this to the Zodiacs if anyone came forth claiming to be his son. However, Jing and Pariston aren't present, so they're hesitant to watch the DVD without all the members. Cheadle decides to continue with her announcement as she claims it is related to the topic at hand. Meanwhile, we cut over to Beyond at what we later learn is just like the base of operations of the expedition team.
Right.
We'll spend a lot of time later there. He is getting word that he's getting a lot of applicants to join the voyage. The V5 even sent out a formal request to take down the announcement video and to get Kaige to sign the treaty. That's not happening. No. Beyond completely blows that off. He's like, whatever, man. We're not doing that. He then gives another speech to 10 followers in the room, none of which we know except for Pariston is present, which is very interesting. We then cut back to Cheadle, who announces that Rat Zodiac Pariston and Boar Zodiac Jing have submitted requests to leave the Zodiac, and she approved.
Yeah.
So they're gone.
So, coming as somebody, from the anime specifically, the writing was on the wall for Pariston. I remember that much.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like he was gone for sure. Did not quite expect that out of Jing though. That was interesting to me.
That's a big move.
But this one comes from a place of like selfishness almost, and that is very much true to his character. So it doesn't really surprise me at the same time.
Yeah, we'll definitely be able to talk about that more later.
Yeah,
there's a lot more to Jing here. So in addition to this, she also reveals that the V5 gave the Zodiacs a special mission to hunt down Beyond Netero. Very interesting.
Yeah. Also not really surprising, though, given like he's doing the exact opposite of what they would like regarding the subject of the Dark Continent.
Yeah. What's interesting about it is that this mission was given presumably before he made the announcement, because maybe not actually. I guess she's Beans is just informing them that the announcement was made. That doesn't mean he made it right at that moment.
Right. So, yeah, it's up in the air a little bit. Up to interpretation,
I guess we don't
like.
entirely know.
Hard
so, after this, we cut to 2 new characters, neither of which have names. Am I correct about this? We never noticed a name.
When I was reading through the chapters, I did not see a single name attached to either of these characters. Yeah.
And I promise, guys, we both read this very intently. Never picked up on a name on these guys. The older one is usually just called the director, and the young guy, nothing.
Guy in suit.
Yeah. I did look him up on the wiki. I guess his name is Steiner.
What? Where did that come from?
Couldn't tell you. Maybe he will show up again later, and I just don't remember, and that's when he'll get named. But
we can go with it, I guess. I mean, I don't got a name for him. I didn't see one.
In my notes, I simply refer to him as young guy and old guy, so that's probably what I will do.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, so these 2 guys, the young guy and the old guy, are going down an elevator, and the older one is talking to the younger one about about the dangers of Kaige's expedition to the New World, as they keep calling it. Mm-hmm. He compares it to opening Pandora's box when an expedition happens, which is an interesting allegory there.
Yeah.
He also says that each expedition has only resulted in them bringing something horrific back with them. They exit the elevator, and the younger man is shocked by the sight of what appears to be deformed human body parts inside of tubes.
That I knew the moment I knew I was so back to be reading the Hunter x Hunter in general again was getting to this series of panels. It was
it was body pretty, horror.
Yeah, it was crazy, and Togashi really popped off with the art, especially here. Yeah. It was ridiculous, the sight of everything, and it kind of gave me chills in a way, and like I didn't really expect to have.
It's quite the sight.
Yeah, it's you know something is really screwed up about the Dark Continent now with this series of panels.
Yeah, and just the sheer amount of those tubes that you can see on that page, like there's a lot of weird shit that came back from these expeditions. Yeah,
and it's very varied as well, which I'm sure we'll get into. But like, oh my gosh, they're what the hell is going on with that continent, dude? That's all I have on my mind now after this.
I know. Clearly a lot.
Yeah.
So the older man confirms that all of these things were once human,
and that gave me more chills whenever that was
crazy. That is wild. So these aren't just things they brought back; these are people. These are what's left of people that came back from the expeditions. You
can't even call these like remnants of humans anymore. They're something it's something different entirely.
Yeah. It's bad looking. It's crazy. So he then talks about a book called Journey to the New World, which was categorized as fiction, but is definitely not fiction. He assigns the young man to read every word of it. I love that, like reading a fiction book that's actually like, it's real. That's such a cool idea.
Just imagine being in this young man's position, within the association, and just being assigned. By the way, this book that was, that people know as fiction, there's actually some real stuff in there, and now you got to read every single word of it and like know the entire truth of like what's happening and use that to our advantage. That's like, dude, I cannot imagine being in that position to be overwhelmed with that much information, like disturbing information too.
Yeah. I didn't write it down, but the old man does tell him to like write a report about this book as well, which he will then present to the V5 later on.
Right.
He claims that the book is full of accounts of people, of the same people who ended up like the people in the tubes during expeditions. Obviously not first-hand accounts, but second-hand accounts. Good enough. The lone survivor, quote unquote, of this expedition then makes his presence known by tapping a glass window near the young man. They refer to this survivor as it all the time. So clearly this thing has lost all humanity entirely, which is backed up even further by them saying it hasn't eaten food in 50 years. It has been largely self-sustaining somehow.
It's basically a zombie. Like it's not even like, at least a zombie you can kind of tell is like human-esque, like, if you think like a atypical zombie. But no, this is weird, dude. Like this is some weird stuff.
Yeah, it was quite the sight. Did you have more to say about that?
No. Just like, it's crazy to see like, this is what the Dark Continent's all about, and like that's such a tiny drop of information about what these people may actually be getting into at some point in the future. So it's I don't know, what a disturbing introduction to the possibilities of the Dark Continent.
No kidding. So back to the Zodiacs now. We're going to be doing this a lot. Togashi loves to cut around, so I will try my best to keep up with all of it, but expect a lot of back to this person, back to that person throughout the course of this summary. The Zodiacs begin watching the DVD that Netero left because they, realize that they don't really need Jing and Pariston there since they're not even on the Zodiacs anymore. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how his son, Beyond, led the very expedition we just learned about that they were talking about with the survivor that came back. Or no, wait, that's not that one. Which one was that? Damn, I didn't write it down. Well, they were talking about another expedition shortly before cutting to this scene. I did not write down what it was, my bad. But Beyond led another expedition, a more recent, we have to assume, It was a secret colonization effort conducted by the V5. I didn't write that down, but it was by the B5 after the treaty was signed. So they didn't even obey the treaty. We later learned that each nation involved in the V5 all did their own expeditions in secret as well. So
very interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta love background, like behind the scenes illegal stuff happening.
Yeah.
Every story with a government like this has to have something like that happening.
Of course.
That's law, pretty much.
Oh yeah. He reveals that the only reason Beyond hadn't attempted further expeditions himself is because Netero forbade him from doing so until after his death. So that explains a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
He tells the Zodiacs that he wants them to explore the Dark Continent before Beyond does. He makes it very clear that this is a request and not an order. However, they take it as an order anyways.
I love that moment. That shows just the amount of respect the Zodiacs have for Netero in general. And two, that also shows how terrified they were of him. So
yeah, right.
I really like that a lot, even if that wasn't Netero's intention.
Yeah, very cool. I love that part. The Zodiacs discuss their options. Varying opinions are shared as they realize that the only one among them who had any ambitions for exploring the Dark Continent was Jing. So, I mean, he's not around, so I guess nobody really gives a shit, apparently.
I guess, yeah.
Then Beans gets a phone call from Beyond. He tells the Zodiacs to call the V5 and tell them they captured him.
Interesting.
All right, what a play.
Yeah, no, that's a power move.
It sure is. He's full of those. We then cut back to the young man we saw earlier with fear in his eyes as he reads upon the 5 threats brought back from the Dark Continent. And so real quick, before you even read the rest of that, let's go over what the 5 threats are. So, the first one is the botanical weapon Brion, a sphere that protects mysterious ancient ruins. Sure?
Yeah, sure.
Not a lot of info on that one. This one we do have more info on, I'll get to in a second. A gaseous life form I. It's codependence of desire. Interesting.
Very interesting.
A beast that keeps people as pets. Pap? Pop?
Pap, I think.
Pap? Probably Pap.
A trade-off between life and pleasure, which that's probably the most interesting one to me. That's so weird. Like,
that is very interesting.
That gives me the creeps, dude. Like, just like looking at that panel, especially.
Yeah.
What in the world is that?
Yeah, that one I have to imagine claimed a lot of victims that were brought back, because the way that those humans in that panel are drawn is similar to some of the ones that we saw in Tubes. Not exact, but yeah. So then we have the twin snake Hellbell. That's a sick name.
Yeah.
A monster that infects its prey with a homicidal desire. Damn.
Yeah.
And then the one who we saw in the glass case was a victim of this last one, Zobe, the immortality disease. Endless despair disguised as hope. That's chilling.
Very chilling. So, my quick thoughts on just like them talking about this in general. It's so interesting that they're presenting these as like as threats that like kind of take on a form, but are also kind of just like I don't know. Like it feels more like concepts and like diseases almost as they're interpreting some of this as well. It gives off a sense of mystery, like mystique to them, I guess is the right way to put it, because even with them explaining what these things are, it feels like you just don't know anything about them still. Yeah,
it's very interesting. I hope to learn more about them someday.
Yeah. For sure.
So yeah, we also learn in the volume version specifically, there's a bonus illustration after that chapter that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Where it's revealed that Nanika, the other personality of Aluka, who was Killua's sister, if you remember, is an eye from the Dark Continent, which we just learned about, which was the gaseous life form.
Which that brings up a lot of questions about just the Zoldyck family in general, and what do they have to do with the Dark Continent, supposedly.
And, we will see later in the volume a little bit of that at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and then back to the Zodiacs again. It appears that Beyond actually let them capture him, and he states that they can do whatever they want with him, but he predicts that they will release him and join him on the expedition. Very bold prediction, considering the circumstances.
Yeah, to say the least.
Cheadle is not convinced, but hears him out anyway. So back with the young man before. Again, we were just talking to him, but now we're back again. He is meeting with the V5 on his research. So he's presenting his book report, basically, on the Dark Continent. He says that the entire world that they know and that we know as an audience is merely a small part in a massive lake in the Dark Continent. That's a crazy reveal if it wasn't revealed by Jing already. I do not recall if it was.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but it's... Dude, whenever that panel... Apologies for the dog barking in the background, if you can hear that. But just the fact that, like, whenever you flip that page and you see that panel and you just see the massive body of water surrounding what we knew as the world of Hunter x Hunter, and it's just like a tiny blip essentially in that is the craziest thing to me. That alone just shows, one, how large the world is, but also just like, dude, that Dark Continent is like, it's more than a continent, dude. That's basically the entire world. That's like 50% of the world at least.
As far as we know. It's crazy. It's basically like when you compare the Earth to all of space. That's honestly a fair comparison to what is happening here. Yeah. It is the world that we've seen throughout the whole series up to this point is like a speck. Like, if you don't have the panel pulled up in front of you of the lake, it's not a lake. I mean, that shit's an ocean. It is crazy big. It's just a lake in comparison to the size of the Dark Continent.
It's only a lake just by technicality because, there's land surrounding it. But that is an ocean is even an understatement. It's like the size of 100 oceans, like as we would think of it.
Yeah. Unbelievably big. And yet mankind has still tried to go there 149 times. Only 5 of these trips had returning survivors for a total of 28 people. And Beyond Netero is the only one of these survivors still living today.
You gotta wonder how the other survivors even managed life after the fact too.
Yeah, I wonder.
Who's to say they didn't live for very long after they came back as well?
Yeah, who's to say? We don't know. He says that the only successful trips had the assistance of the Guide, which is a magical beast that is summoned by the gatekeepers of the Dark Continent. They possess the only pipeline, or the only known pipeline to get there. Very interesting. We don't know much about that, but hopefully one day we get to see them.
And that's even more scary when you think about it, how there is such a large ocean, and the continent surrounding the entire thing, right? And so you would think that there'd just be millions upon millions of entryways into the Dark Continent, but no, there's only one known pipeline to actually get there.
That's so crazy.
That's of all that land and of all that space it's taking up in the world, there's only at least one known entry point, essentially. That's ridiculous to me.
It's wild. Yeah. So the young guy continues, saying that the only way to stop Kakin's expedition at this point would be through military action. And obviously nobody wants to do that at this point. So to resolve the situation peacefully, he proposes that they invite Kakin into the V5 and making it the V6. Any civilians that would go on this trip due to Beyond's influence would be dropped off at a largely uninhabited island. Well, a set of islands, actually, on the border. So basically they would say that this is the Dark Continent, and they would let a ton of people off there, so they're not actually endangering normal people.
Okay.
Which I thought was pretty smart.
No, that is smart. Kind of feel a little bit bad for the people that would end up dropped off there, though, because, what are they there for?
They can still colonize it, I guess.
I get what for, though,
Because it said largely uninhabited. I wonder what is actually on those islands.
Yeah, it makes you think, is that actually going to be the case where, they're just dropped off and they're all safe and sound?
Who knows?
I'm not so sure.
We'll have to see. Yeah, honestly. Yeah, so while Kakin does the actual expedition, which they predict will have the same results as all the other attempts. So basically, they're trying to kill off the Kakin Empire without doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
There could be way worse plans, I think.
Yeah. Back to the Zodiacs once again. Beyond explains that he has essentially made a deal with the Kakin Empire to make its king into a historical hero in exchange for a ticket to the Dark Continent. Not a literal ticket, but a way to the Dark Continent, because that's really all he cares about here. Mm-hmm. He's really only with the Kakin Empire to suit his own goals.
Yeah. It's just like they benefit mutually from the partnership, but they don't really care about each other, which makes sense. Yeah. He knows exactly what the V5 is planning and basically declares war on the Hunter Association here. He will be their prisoner until they reach the Dark Continent, at which point he claims that he will escape and do as he pleases. For various complex reasons, Cheadle accepts the proposal and the plan is set in motion on all sides. Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, there was just a whole series of panels about how she's just like deducing what the best route forward is. Right?
I didn't feel the need to go through all of her deductions, but she eventually came to the conclusion that she'll accept.
Right.
And by the way, if you don't remember, Cheadle is the new chairman.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's an important detail. We then get our first look at the Black Whale #1. Which will just be referred to both in the series and by us as just the Black Whale from now on. A ship that can carry 200,000 people. Insane.
Big ship.
Very big.
That ship is the size of a like a small state. Like, yeah, like I don't know, like that I don't know.
It's like a small country almost.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of insane.
Especially when you think about what the purpose of the ship is.
Yeah. We haven't seen like the layout yet, or you haven't, but it's really long. Like it goes underneath the water. Yeah. So in terms of like, if you convert like length to width, it probably is massive. Like, I bet it is the size of like a small nation.
Aye.
So this the king claims that 20 of these will be built in a year to help colonize the Dark Continent. No, that's not happening.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. Like, what? That's a crazy claim.
Yeah, that is wild. The first ship, however, will be used to take Beyond and his expedition team, as well as the king and himself, as well as the 14 princes of the Kakin Empire. Civilians are chosen by lottery. So, yeah, I guess all the people that are applying to join the expedition team aren't just going to be going right away. They'll have to be chosen by lottery as well.
Right. That's interesting that the king himself is like going to be going on the voyage. He kind of read to me at first like, someone who, he wants to be like the hero of this or whatever, right? But like he doesn't want to actually get involved. Interesting that he actually is getting involved. So, and it's even more interesting.
To be the hero, he has to be there.
True. It's even more interesting considering the stakes that are introduced later on as well.
Yeah, that is interesting given the later things that we learn. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. It's very interesting. Yeah. Where was I? Okay, we then cut over to Jing, who is now in the base of operations for Beyond's expedition team. He's talking to Periston, asking if he can join the expedition team, and he basically has no choice but to say yes, given the fact that Beyond said that anyone can join. So he's trapped by his leader's own words there.
Yep.
He claims that even if the expedition doesn't happen for whatever reason, that this is Jing talking again. Whoops, I wrote that pretty poorly. But he's talking about how Periston has an army essentially of 5,000 Chimera left over from the Chimera Ant arc. That's a huge reveal. I'm not sure how Jing even figured this out.
It's never talked about again after this, so I don't know.
No, it's basically it's his backup plan, I guess. If Beyond doesn't work out, he will just send those Chimera instead.
Which, remind me, how did Periston get a hold of 5,000 Chimera ants?
It's not really known right now. I guess he was probably in charge of getting rid of the remnants of the chimeras.
Oh, that would make sense.
This is something I'd have to refresh myself on, but he might have like led the team that was, trying to get rid of the remnants.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, Jing's only real reason to join is to keep Harrison in check. That's really all he's trying to do here. He's also very obsessed with the Dark Continent, but he knows that Harrison's gonna kind of screw everything up here.
Right, which, as we will learn soon, it kind of serves both interests in mind.
Yes. Jing and Harrison's relationship through this whole thing is so interesting to me. They have such a unique chemistry on screen. It's just like this constant game of them trying to figure each other out, with Jing usually having the higher hand here.
This might sound really stupid. I'm not sure. Kind of gives like a Light and L dynamic in like a very twisted way.
Yeah. You're not too far off. Except Jing in this case would be, I guess, L.
I guess, yeah. It's not a 1-to-1 comparison,
No,
but it gives off
really,
that kind of same energy. They're just trying to one up one another almost.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so meanwhile, Cheeto calls Leorio. Finally, a character that we love.
Woo! I love Leorio so much. Happy to see him back.
He's the best. And she offers him a spot on the Zodiacs, which is very cool.
Redemption after that election.
Yes, if y'all remember, he dropped out of the election after Gon was healed.
Yeah.
So he probably would have won.
Yeah, I think there's no question in that. Yeah. He had a ton of support. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's also why she decided to give him a spot on the Zodiacs, because he's a very popular hunter. I didn't write it down, but... Oh, no, I did, actually. She states that he is currently the most respected hunter in the association.
Which, that is an insane, like, metric to have.
Yeah.
Like, he's still an amateur, like, as far as, like, hunters are concerned.
He is, yeah. Even later on, in a text box, he has the title of rookie. So, I mean, that's as far as he's gotten, really, in the hunter ranks.
It's so impressive thinking about just, like, the entirety of what the series has been up until this point. And, like, Leorio really hasn't been that involved in many of the major events within the story.
No, he was in York New, and then...
but even in York,
he didn't really do anything then, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't... He was kind of just on the sidelines for the most part. He was kind of, like, support almost. But, like, he didn't really get involved.
No.
And then, that's as close as he got to most, like, major events. Like, he was just studying for his doctorate or whatever after.
Yep, that's right.
So, it's just really cool to see him get this much popularity and this much support without really doing a whole lot. That goes a lot towards his character.
Yeah, it's very cool. He's just he's a great guy. People can't help but love him.
Yeah, charismatic for sure.
Yes, a lot of charisma. She also says that his participation is essential for the success of the mission. So she clearly puts a lot of stock in him.
A lot of confidence.
Yes. He accepts and says that there is someone he would like to recommend for the other open spot. I wonder who.
Yeah, I wonder
who could it be?
I wonder who is a relevant hunter right now that is not on the cover of this volume at all that could fit into that spot.
Yeah.
Curious.
Very curious. So back to Jing. Pariston is unfazed by Jing knowing that he is sheltering chimera ants. So that just feeds in more to the cat and mouse game they have. They both are trying to one-up each other all the time. I love it. Yep. They're just trying to act unbothered by everything that they're saying to each other.
Yeah, I'd like to imagine that, like, deep down, both of them get really ticked off every time, like, information like this is revealed. But they're just playing it cool the entire time.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, if I wasn't recapping an entire volume here and we were just going like chapter by chapter, I would talk about their whole conversation that they have, because it's really good, but it's just them talking. It's nothing crucial is revealed here, but it's very good bickering. I really enjoy their conversations.
It gives off like sibling rivalry energy.
It does, yeah. Just with higher stakes.
Yeah, much higher stakes.
Yeah, they're like trying to get inside each other's heads, and The big thing here, the big takeaway, is that Pearson reveals here that he feels happy when other people hate him. Wow.
Yeah, that's okay. Sheesh.
Okay, man. Yeah.
Yeah, take it easy, man. Holy crap.
Yeah. And I love how I wrote this here. Then Jing seemingly beats the absolute shit out of one of the other people in the room. This guy was one of the people on the expedition team who was trying to get all like he was just trying to call out Jing, basically.
Yeah, he was trying to. I think how this happened was you went to like pull him away from Pearson, essentially, and then he turned around and
it looks very bad. Like that guy should be dead.
Yeah,
but turns out Jing didn't even do anything. It was more of a warning, but it appears that the dude felt something. What this reminds me of is actually hockey, like Conquerors hockey. It's like they feel that they're just gonna lose. So
yeah, because the implication is that like whatever did happen, like there was some amount of pressure or force from something that like it made him feel like he got like the absolute like shit beaten out of him.
But he was totally fine.
Yeah, he
just
was
very
unharmed.
scared.
Yeah.
He backs off, and Jing tells Pearson that he is number 2 now, and no one's gonna stop it. So that's Jing is saying that himself is number 2 beyond.
Yeah, I'd listen to him.
Yeah. I would too.
Can we talk about real quick, like just the detail of that panel of like him getting punched in the face repeatedly?
It's so sick. I love that panel.
Like,
it's a full page also in the manga. It's so cool. It's just this guy's face just getting caved in, like he's like putty.
Like literally, it looks like he's punching Play-Doh.
Yeah, it's so sick. It's such a good page turn too, because it's just like the guy talking shit and then like wham.
Yeah, just immediately destroyed. I actually thought he was dead. Whenever I read that.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Mizai is the cow or the ox guy, the one that's wearing like the big cow costume. Mm-hmm. He's looking for Kurapika, who...
Wow, surprise.
Yeah, no way. Obviously, that was Leorio's recommendation. Shocker of the century.
Yeah, wow.
And he is at the Nostrad family like headquarters, so presumably he's in York New, I guess.
Yeah, no, they'd have to be York. Well, I can't remember if that family was based in York New, but I can only assume so.
Oh, you know what? Actually, maybe they weren't. I think they were just visiting York New. I can't remember exactly, but...
Not that important either way.
No. But, so yeah, he... Kurapika, this isn't new information, but if you forgot, he is now the head of the bodyguards of that family. So he is... His title, I believe, is like Nostrad family boss.
Something like that, yeah.
Pretty hard.
It's a pretty hard title, regardless. Like he is the boss.
Yeah, he's the number one around there, aside from like actual family members.
Right.
So 3 dudes try to pick a fight with Mizai whenever he walks in, and he uses his Nen ability for the first time, in which he appears to stop their movement. Interesting.
Yeah.
Kurapika
really
finally
leave much
shows
of
himself. Okay.
I was just gonna say, it didn't really leave much of an impression using that Nen ability the first time. It's just that's neat.
Yeah,
I guess.
Neat.
Yeah.
He pulls out a card, also worth noting there when he does that.
Right.
So I guess it's linked to cards. Kurapika finally shows himself, and Mizai tells him that Leorio recommended him to come to the Dark Continent with the Zodiacs. He initially refuses, but Mizai then brings up the fact that Kurapika is searching for the Scarlet Eyes of the Kurta clan. Kurapika gets a little pissed.
Just a little.
A little. He says, "From this point on, choose your words wisely."
Also, the text bubbles are the most like insanely jagged, rough-looking thing Togashi
tons
ever
of
drew.
ink. Yeah,
like, you can tell like his voice is like boiling with anger.
Yeah, he is angry.
Yeah.
So Mizai continues and explains. I imagine he continues very quickly to try to save his life here.
Whoa, just take it easy, man.
Yeah. that there was a video uploaded to the dark web showing a large number of scarlet eyes, and that they have identified the owner of the eyes. This catches Kurapika's attention. He continues and says that if Kurapika joins the Zodiacs, he will tell him what they know. So that wins Kurapika over.
Yeah.
And the owner of the eyes is revealed to be Kakin's fourth prince. You ready for this, Dylan?
I'm ready.
Saridnich. All right. My Siri just went off when I said that. That's great. Hopefully it doesn't happen every time I say his damn name.
It's Saridnich.
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 Oh my God, Siri is gonna go off every time I say that. Get out of here.
Good old Siri.
So this is something that is highly debated in the community, I've learned. Because the Japanese pronunciation would be something along the lines of like Saridnihi. But that's because in Japan, this name is German in origin, right? Okay, so in Japan, that niche sound is pronounced as nihi. It's the same way like we in English like say Japanese words different. Like normally, like something like sheen, we would say shin, stuff like that. It's just like different ways in our tongue to say sounds that aren't normal to us.
Okay.
So that niche they say is nihi. So even if one day this gets animated, we're still not going to have the pronunciation confirmed, at least until it gets dubbed, because the Japanese will say Saridnihi.
Gotcha. Okay. If it ever gets animated.
Yeah, if that ever happens. And even then, we needed to get dubbed to learn the official English pronunciation, because at this point, there has never been any English... sorry. English pronunciation of this character's name. But he is extremely important. We will need to say his name all the time, so please get used to saying Saridnich.
Saridnich. Yep. I will try my best. Kaige knows especially how bad with names I can be at times, so this will be a challenge.
And there are a lot of names to learn here. Kurapika has an internal monologue recalling how he got all of the previous eyes that he has now, and says that this will all end soon, as this is the last monster with the rest of the eyes, apparently. So I guess he has literally all of them that are left out there. Which
just leads into another question of just how many eyes does this guy have, which is why I think the first thing, like, wow, this guy must be insane. Like, how many eyes could he have?
Yeah. And yeah, we have a very, very nice panel of him just kind of reflecting on everything, talking about Pyro, who Dylan will know from the movie Phantom Rouge. But
for better or for worse, the movie, yeah.
But he is he's a character from Volume 0, which I would like to cover on this podcast someday if we have time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he says, I want to read this whole page because it's very nice. He says, Pyro, my journey may finally begin. But where would I go? There's no home for me to return to, and nobody to welcome me back. I have nothing left. Damn.
Man, don't say that, Kurapika.
I know. You have people.
That's part of his journey, though. That's part of his journey.
That's right. So, back with Jing, the members of Beyond's expedition team are doubtful about having Jing being the new number 2. To combat this, Jing does a very bold move by saying that he will double what Beyond paid them up front. Wow. Okay.
That's more money than I could ever possibly imagine.
Yeah. One member takes him up on this, and upon receiving the money, leaves.
And doesn't come back.
Fair play.
Yeah, no. For sure.
Yeah. Jing asks Pariston if he has any objections, but he says that he will make a great number 2. So more of that just playing with each other.
Yeah.
Kurapika and Mizai are driving a car when they get a call from Leorio. He asks if Kurapika accepted the deal. Kurapika then asks about Gon and if there's anything he can do to help. But alas, Kurapika, that is done. That happened a while ago, but he ignored them.
You're a little late for that, man.
Yeah, it's nice that he cares, but He sure didn't in the moment. He ignored that call. We all remember.
I remember, and I was mad.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, Leorio fills him in on that, saying that Goen's okay now. Mizai says that Kurapika can prioritize his business while on board the Black Whale, but he will need to be discreet. So it'll be, on paper, a secondary mission, but we all know to Kurapika that is the primary goal.
Yeah.
We then cut to Gon for a very brief moment where he comes to the realization that he can't use Nen anymore.
Oh my gosh, dude.
No.
What a tease. Just is. My reaction, I was so excited to see Gon, and then it just like immediately crushes like, oh yeah, this is what happened.
Yeah, that's right. Oh boy. Meanwhile, Jing briefs some of the members of the expedition team on what he knows of the Dark Continent, which is a lot. I would say more than anybody else, honestly.
Yeah. He has a lot of information for someone who, I don't know.
He's very obsessed with it. He's really interested in this place. Again, a lot of this is repeat information because I don't know why Togashi just felt the need to say all of this again, I guess. But the new stuff is that the 5 threats, which we learned about through that young guy, Jing knows that I and Pap have taken victims outside of the Dark Continent already. So we know at least one of its victims.
Yep.
Pap, we don't know.
And that's the one that keeps humans as pets, right?
Yes. I believe. Let me go back. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
That is very interesting, to say the least. So when Netero went, like Isaac Netero, I should probably just say Isaac. I just can't bring myself to do it. It feels so wrong.
Yeah, I get it. Netero, and then there's Beyond. That's how I.
Netero and Beyond. How about that? That works.
Sure.
All right. When he went there, he was accompanied by Zieg probably, Zoldyck, and Line Adobel, a gourmet hunter who we actually, I did not know this, but on the wiki, she was actually in the chairman election arc. Even she was animated.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Which is also interesting to me because earlier they said that Beyond was the only living person to come back, but
that's not the case.
Unless that was a flashback. I don't remember the context in which we saw her in the chairman election arc, but I guess she was there. She was older. I saw an image of her on the wiki. Not something I remember very clearly, but she was there, I guess.
That's interesting. But then the other interesting part about that is Zoldyck.
Yes. Which we can probably assume he brought back the eye. Which who knows what happened? Maybe it possessed him for a short while and eventually made its way to Aluka. Maybe
potentially. Yeah, that's just a theory, I guess.
Yeah, we don't know. But
there is a connection there now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Netero in his report said that the Dark Continent is unbelievably big in many ways, as we see a insanely detailed, our first real look at the Dark Continent, which is a full 2-page spread of just the craziest stuff you can imagine. There's dinosaur, kaiju, big bugs, just massive trees, just everything is big.
Yes, and it's one of those things where the more you look at it, the more insane it gets, and the more stuff you realize, that's even happening there. It's truly insane. A sight. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, oh man, it's crazy. Humans there are probably bugs. They
not even.
So
they're
small.
Microbes, I feel like,
Yeah, dude. Insanely big. That member that left earlier that took Jing's money actually comes back and says that he was able to pay off the debt that the hospital that his sister was staying at was under. So I guess that hospital is debt-free and his sister is safe to stay there. That's nice.
Nice.
For doing this, he says that Jing is his number 2 and that he will go wherever he goes. So Jing just got a very loyal follower from that.
Oh, yeah.
Jing then goes on to say that there was one guy who tried to explore the entire Mobius shoreline, which is a part of the Dark Continent I failed to mention, but it is what it sounds like, a Mobius strip-like shoreline in the Dark Continent. By himself 300 years ago. Wow.
By himself is crazy.
Insane. He wrote 2 books about it, but only one of them has been found. And this is a very interesting part to me. He comes up with 3 possibilities as to why that is. 1, he just wasn't found yet. Fair enough. 2, his goal was, it wasn't found yet. The book itself, not him. 2, his goal was too ambitious and he never wrote it to begin with. And 3, he's still writing it as we speak. And
remind me if this was the case. Was this the book that the guy in the suit was assigned to read as well?
The first one, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Journey to the New World.
Right.
And it was like, I didn't write it down, but it was like North and South editions or something like that.
I think it was East and West.
East and West. Yeah. And then he reveals that the author of this book was Doan Freaks. Wow.
So, no, I at the very least do not recognize that name ever being brought up before now.
No, and I did look. This is apparently the first time he's mentioned.
Right. So, all I can infer is that this person is a part of the Freaks family of something, and that alone is just so interesting. the dynamic of that family alone is already so interesting enough with just Gon and Jing, but to have another person just be a part of whatever the hell that legacy of that family is, like, I don't know. Interest is through the roof for me.
Oh my god, yeah, it's crazy. And it also explains why Jing probably is so invested in this. I have to imagine like he was trying to research his family lineage and it eventually brought him to learning about this. And
right, yeah.
You can see like the whole journey even without him saying anything about it, really. It's a really cool detail to reveal.
You can infer a lot of motivations and ambitions from it. But I'm sure it goes so much more deeper than that as well. It's just a matter of if we get to that being explained.
Yes. So later, Gon, back again, calls Jing and tells him that he can't use Nen. Jing reminds Gon himself that he said he didn't care if it was the end. That's the exact quote he said to Pito. And he's lucky to be alive at all. It literally took Aluka Dark Continent magic to make this happen. So...
to be lucky, like being lucky to be alive at all is like almost an understatement of in of itself.
It was a miracle.
Yes.
So Jing tells him that this is an opportunity to be normal, and that this is a good opportunity for him to figure out what he can do as he is now. That's the exact quote from Jing. Interesting.
Bittersweet for sure. Is the best way I can describe feeling like reading this whole thing.
Yes, this whole part is very bittersweet. Gon then returns to Whale Island and reunites with Mito. Very sweet. She asks, this is after like they talk and catch up and hug and stuff. They're at the dinner table and she's asking why he didn't go with Jing after he found him. To which Gon says he realized that his goal was to find him and nothing more. He's satisfied with just that. And he also says, which is a line that hit very close to home for me, he says that Jing is more like a cool uncle than a father.
And
that's, yeah.
I do also want to add to that, though, that didn't he also talk about, like, losing his Nen also, and just, like, maybe things would be different if he still had it?
Yeah, he did say that he brings up the possibility that if he hadn't lost his Nen, maybe he would have gone with Jing.
Yeah, but only because That'd just be all he presents it as almost like that's just another opportunity for adventure at that point.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be necessarily to be with Jing.
Yeah, it wouldn't be for like bonding or anything. It would just kind of be to serve as it's like a selfish thing, kind of, honestly.
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. Especially when Jing is the most selfish person in the planet.
Yeah, like father, like son, right?
Yeah. Mito then dumps a ton of paperwork on him that he has to catch up on, and this is the last we ever see of Gon. So.
Oh man.
Hopefully we see him again one day.
That day, if it ever comes to have Gon reintroduced at all, whether it's a cameo or not, that'll be a glorious day.
Yes, I just hope we get to see him again, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. That is the face of the series, you know. So
yeah. So Pariston continues trying to pull one over on Jing. He sees everything. He sees through everything, rather, obviously. It's the same thing over and over. Pariston then admits internally that Jing may end up being the first person he grows to hate. And he wants to see what he wants to do to someone he hates. That's his own words. That's very interesting to me. He's basically trying to test the limits of, well, it's an emotion he apparently hasn't felt before.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very complex relationship between the two.
Yes.
Yeah.
We then cut to a dance club, so pretty crazy change of scenery. And are properly introduced to Seridnich, who is seen bringing 2 girls from the club back to his place. He then calls someone named Mark on the phone and tells him that the 2 girls were not what he was looking for, to say the least. He has a lot more to say about them, but a lot of crude statements.
Yeah.
So, it is then shown that his bathroom is covered in blood. So I guess he killed them.
Yeah, there's like no trace of these girls, by the way.
No, absolutely
nothing. You see like hair in the drain or something, but like
yeah.
that's about it. This guy is psycho.
Yeah, absolute nut job. And then he asked this guy Mark for 2 more. So wow.
Yeah, the implication that they will be murdered as well. So yeah, That's great. Great to hear.
Cool guy, very cool guy. So, meanwhile, the old man we were introduced to earlier is on the phone with Cheadle. This is basically their contact to the V5, as far as I can tell. The Zodiac's contact.
Right.
Telling her to make Beyond sign a contract. So she writes one up and presents it to Beyond. The contract states that he will basically have no freedom whatsoever and will be monitored 24/7 on the Black Whale. Mm-hmm. He signs the contract, and then we cut to Mizai and Kurapika in the car still. He asks Kurapika what he will do with the prince once he gets the eyes from him. Kurapika says that his only concern is to get his brethren back, and he will yield to most demands. If he resists, he says that he's had instances in the past where people said they would rather die than give up the eyes, but they both changed their mind. So he had specifically had 2 instances of this happening.
Okay.
Interesting. So he's pretty confident that he can deal with the situation in the same way. That remains to be seen. They then arrive at the Hunter Association and are greeted by Cheadle and Leorio. The Zodiacs are now complete again, and Cheadle sits them all down and begins debriefing them on what's going on. By the way, Kurapika and Leorio didn't really have much of a reunion. They kind of just talked about like how crazy the situation is, and that's about it.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah. Good enough, sure.
Yeah, why not?
They are. Cheadle is debriefing them on everything about the situation up to now. So first of all, the V5 is now the V6 officially. So Kakin accepted the proposal, and Kakin is now a part of the V6. She then says that each of the countries, which I talked about this earlier, but all 5 of the countries have tried their own expeditions in the past, and they all ended up in failure due to the 5 threats, which she deems are more dangerous than the Chimera Ants. Which the Chimera Ants were a B rank, and these 5 threats are an A rank.
That's so spooky.
That's crazy.
Chimera Ants, I thought, were the most like insane, like not like villain group necessarily, but like
Entity.
I don't know. Their presentation was through the roof. I thought they were the scariest thing like ever. Honestly, but
yep.
No,
terrifying.
There are even more dangerous threats out there, and that's crazy to think about.
Yes. She states that their mission is to capture one of the 5 threats and survive, while also dealing with Beyond at the same time, which sounds like an absolute pain in the ass, if you ask me.
Yeah,
that is unwinnable.
Nobody could get paid enough to do that.
Yeah, no way. They are unsure of bringing him into the Dark Continent itself, but they will at least bring him as far as the Mock Continent that the Villians will be dropped off on. So that's interesting too. There's a possibility that Beyond, they won't even let Beyond on the Dark Continent, but
right.
I do not foresee that happening one way or the other. Even if they decide to make that happen, Beyond is definitely going to make sure that that is not what happens.
He's too smart also. He probably sees this coming already from this
my god, yeah. He probably knows about those islands, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's been there. So Kurapika deduces that Beyond must have allies within the association, stating that since Beyond was waiting for his father's death, he must have planned his involvement with the association beforehand. He also confirms the theory that Periston and the Temp Hunters were some of Beyond's allies. Mizai, realizing that Kurapika's statement could lead to some certain complications, leads him outside and reveals that he and Cheadle had come to the same conclusion that he did. And requests him not to mention anything about moles in the Zodiacs again, as it would put the mole on alert, to which Kurapika agrees. So a lot of big brainery happening here.
Yeah, Detective Kurapika at work.
Yeah. They then go inside and discuss the roles they will be playing. This is largely unimportant, but we can quickly go through this. So Cheadle, let's see here. We got, what did I do? Okay, Cheadle, not Kurapika, is on the science team. Seiyu, who's the monkey guy, is on the defense team. Sacho, who I don't even know what he is. He's a freak-looking guy with the buck teeth.
Is he the rat, right?
No, Rat was Periston.
Oh, Rat is Periston.
I do not
Rabbit?
know who he is. Yeah, probably Rabbit. Yeah. Good call.
Rabbit, yeah.
He's also on the intelligence team, and so is Mizai. Then we have Botobai. I don't know what he is either. He's on the defense team. Then Ginta is the weird-looking one who was crying earlier about Beyond. He is on the Flora/Fauna team. That's an interesting team to have.
Yeah.
Pion is on the intelligence team. A lot of intelligence team people.
A lot, yeah. Kanzai,
Cluck?
I think.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the girl.
Oh, yeah, that's Cluck.
Cluck, yeah, Cluck is on also the Flora Fauna team.
That one is so on the nose, by the way.
I know, yeah. None of them are really on the nose, but that is. Kanzai is on the defense team. Gel, science team. She's the snake one. I know that much. And then Leorio's on science, and Kurapika is also on intelligence. So intelligence is the biggest team by far.
Yeah.
And defense also has quite a few members. But this is all the roles they'll be playing while on the expedition itself, not the boat. So this information will probably not even be relevant for a very long time, if at all. I do not even know if we will ever make it to the Dark Continent. But we'll see.
We shall see, yeah.
We then jump forward in time by a month, where we see that Beyond's expedition team seems to be warming up the Jing. Periston informs Jing that the hunter exam just ended and says that all of the plants were snuffed out. Just then, a person named Muhair, along with 2 other hunter exam participants, arrive and comment that Kurapika is rumored to be able to read minds. So basically, he was responsible for snuffing out all of their plants through, what is it called? The dowsing chain.
Dowsing chain, yeah.
Yes. So, where was I? When questioned about his early arrival, he states that he didn't even need to see them. Oh yeah, this is back to Kurapika and them, I think. Wait, no, where am I? Sorry, hold on. When questioned about his early arrival, he states that he didn't even need to see them. Oh, that's Muhair talking. Yeah, he already knew that they failed, basically, without even seeing the results. Mm-hmm. Kurapika single-handedly failed most of them. Muhair starts questioning why Jing is being accepted as the number 2 when 3 more Hunter exam participants walk in and start trouble. These are just like the biggest goons imaginable.
Yeah,
they're not imposing at all.
I don't even remember their names, if I'm being honest.
They might have had names. I don't really remember. They don't care who the number 2 is, but they either want Pariston or Jing to leave the expedition. At this point, Pariston and Jing unite and turn it around on them by saying that they could either leave or die. They do not take this lightly, and they begin to attack both of them with conjured guns. So I guess they're conjurers, all 3 of them.
I guess so, yeah.
That's pretty lame that they all have the same ability, but what you gonna do?
Yeah.
To deal with the first 3 attackers, Jing mimics Leorio's Nen ability and states that he is generally able to replicate any punching ability that he is hit by, which likely means he intentionally let himself get hit by Leorio before.
And this is referring to the fist through the podium moment, right?
Yes, when Leorio calls him out for being the worst father of all time.
He was not wrong.
No, he was not.
But yeah, no, that's so interesting to me because that calls into question what Jing's abilities are in general. Like, is that related to that necessarily? Is that just
he claims that it's not an ability. Rather, it's just a talent he has. Okay.
All right.
Very interesting.
So he's just built different, is what he's saying.
He's just built different, apparently.
Okay.
He takes out the other 2 in the same way and calls out Pariston for setting this whole thing up. He thinks that Pariston was basically trying to get Jing to reveal his Nen ability here, because nobody knows what it is.
Only Jing knows.
Yep. This really pisses off Pariston, like, a lot. This is the most he's been pissed, in fact. The one from before, Namu Hair, confirms that they were put up to this, and Jing makes fun of his acting, which was kind of funny. And then they talk a long time about his like military faction and a bunch of stuff that I can't even really recall right now, but it is, I promise you guys, it is not very important. It is really just flavor text.
It was nice world building, but I can't lie. It was by far the most boring part of these chapters that I've read so far.
That was the most boring part of the volume. It was world building. It was just something that Togashi put there in case you wanted to know, basically.
Yeah.
It may be important one day. I mean, there is an army at play there, and I guess they have access to it. But it's not important right now, so whatever. Jing says that he won't interfere with Pariston's with the way Pariston's been leading things. But he refuses that and says that he wants to see what Jing can do. So he's kind of letting Jing do what he wants.
Fair enough.
Yeah. We then cut back in time to when the Hunter exams were going on, and we see that Kurapika was using the dowsing chain to detect liars and fail them. This goes even beyond Beyond's expedition team, by the way. There's also plants from the royal family, which they talk about. Mizai is impressed by this ability, but Kurapika states that it's imperfect as it can only detect lies if the person knows they're lying. Mm-hmm. He fears that there could be someone with the ability to erase memories involved in this scheme. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good observation, though. Like,
it is, yeah. I love how much Kurapika thinks everything through.
Yeah.
It's very cool. We then cut back to Serednich, who receives a call from someone named Benjamin, who is his older brother.
Such a normal name, by the way.
I know. Very funny. He informs Serednich that Dad agreed to the deal, and elaborates by saying that the sole survivor of this voyage will be the next king. That is a very interesting thing to just casually drop.
Yeah.
So I guess people are going to start dropping dead.
That's the implication. And that, again, leads me to the question, why is the king going on this voyage exactly?
Who knows?
And why did he agree to this? Yeah, weird.
Yeah. So Serenich is very hyped about this. He taunts and says the exact quote is what is it? I can freely dispose of all the rotten trash. Quake in your sleep, Benjamin. I will be the next king.
This guy's a lunatic. Like, the more I see of him, the more lunatic he becomes.
Yeah, and also Benjamin's kind of cracked out, too, because the whole time he's on the phone, he's, like, wrestling like a lion.
Yeah. Choking it out, pretty much. Like,
and then after Serenich says that, the quake in your sleep bed, he just snaps the lion's neck.
What was he doing, dude? He was doing this in front of like a boxing ring type of like area too.
Yeah. He was like
what was happening?
I do not know. That was wild.
Gave him a bit of like a intimidation factor though.
Oh my god, yeah, very intimidating guy.
And I mean, also his design is just interesting.
It's striking. It's a very interesting face.
I could not begin to describe how his face looks like without a reference.
No, it's very unique. Serenich hangs up the phone after that, and he gets another call, this time from one of his bodyguards named Theta. She informs him that all 5 of his staff passed the hunter exam. So, some plants got through.
Yep.
And then he tells her to tell everyone on the team to memorize the floor plan of the black whale.
Yeah, like pretty much every room, every possible pathway to rooms and escape routes and stuff. Just everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. He's very calculated. So, back to Kurapika and Mizai. They continue to speculate about the traitor within the Zodiacs and decide to put it to the test by using Kurapika's dowsing chain once more. It's a pretty complicated process. It's basically like they're revealing each other's abilities.
Yeah.
And it's all stemming from Mizai revealing his ability to them, and from that point they feel comfortable enough to share their ability. And through one way or the other, Kurapika, through that method, is able to deduce that the traitor is the monkey Zodiac Seiyu. It's not really elaborated on how they figure it out. They kind of speed through that whole scene. But it's through that process.
The intent, I believe, was that by revealing I remember now. So by revealing their abilities to one another, they're kind of able to, or Kurapika's able to kind of gauge if they're lying or not through that, because the idea is that the traitors, like everyone, if they weren't a traitor, they'd be tense about revealing their abilities overall, but the traitor themselves would feel relief almost from doing so, because now they don't need to hide that anymore. Everything will be out in the open.
Right. Yeah.
And so through that's able to help them deduce that Seiyu is the traitor.
Yes. Okay. And that chapter marks the end of the Dark Continent Expedition arc. Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
sure. Nice arc. It's a very good arc there.
Nice, like 7-chapter arc, something like that?
Yeah, like 8, 9, I don't know, something like that. Or 8, I don't know, whatever it was. I think it was 8. Yep. All right, so moving on from that, we are now in what is called the Succession Contest arc. And we will learn why it's called that very shortly. So, the current Kakin king's butler informs Serenich that only children from legal wives will be eligible to compete in the contest for the throne, which is what Benjamin was just talking on the phone about. And that it begins as soon as the black whale sounds its departure horn. He then asks him to offer a drop of his blood to an urn and to insert his hand into the center of the urn. It has like a mouth and eyes.
Very creepy looking.
Yes. Now, okay, yeah, let's learn names. So,
Oh boy, my favorite.
yeah. The current king has 8 wives with 14 legitimate children. Gender is irrelevant when it comes to the succession of the throne, so regardless of gender, they are all called princes. So they're the 14 princes. Mm-hmm. They each have a number assigned to them, simply just being the order in which they were born. And they are as follows. I'm not going to go over the mothers because that really does not matter at all. So the first prince is Benjamin, so he's the oldest. Second prince is someone named Camilla or Camilla. I do not know which one it's supposed to be, but I will go with Camilla for now. Third prince, Zhang Lei, who has a very interesting design.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
It's cool, yeah. Okay, and I do want to stop here for talk about this panel of Serednich.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Aura.
He has a lot of Kurta clan stuff. It's seemingly bodies with eyes intact. And
it's not just eyeballs. It's bodies, organs. It looks like there's a whole like severed head behind him.
Yes, and I do want to point out this is a very common fan theory. That head looks an awful lot like Pyro's.
I was just thinking that looking at this again.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know Karapika said he's confident he could get the eyes without killing anybody, but
yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I don't. This guy's kind of ridiculous.
The aura of this panel is off the charts, though. He is literally sitting on like a chair of bones, which may also be Kurta clan bones, actually, now that I think about it.
I want to say from here on out, it's really funny how intimidating this prince is, like, from the panels, and then everyone else is just like, it's just like normal backgrounds or like people like designs that you do not find intimidating at all.
Yeah, that's an interesting conundrum with this thing that we'll get into later. It's some of these people are just kind of normal people.
Yeah,
they probably don't even really care about being the king. So, fifth prince, oh boy, hold on, this one's tough. Let me zoom in here. Tubepa. I will go with that. I will look up the actual pronunciation for the next episode, but I believe it's Tubepa. Sixth prince, Tyson, who is a woman, but Tyson is her name.
All right.
Seventh prince, Loserus.
Loserus.
What a name. Eighth prince, Saleh Sale. And ninth prince, Hulkenberg, who will be relevant in a moment in a very funny way.
Yeah.
10th prince, Kacho. 11th prince, Fugetsu. 12th prince, Momose. 13th prince, Mariam, I guess.
Yeah.
And 14th prince, Wobble. So that's a lot of names. We will need to learn all of them. I don't even have them all committed to memory at this point, unfortunately. I did when I first read this. I definitely had them all in mind, but over the time, they definitely fade. It's a lot of names, but they are all very important. So
crazy.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in the next volume for sure. So, Serednich puts his hand in the urn, and a fairy-like creature comes out and puts something in his mouth. It is then explained that this ritual is meant to awaken a spiritual power in the form of a Nen beast birthed from the guardian spirit beast. Which basically, if I'm remembering right, I didn't write all this down, but it's a Nen beast from way back in the Kakian Empire that has been attached to this family forever. And this succession contest happens presumably any time the king wants it to start, I have to imagine. Where he basically just goes to this guardian spirit beast and is like, all right, let's do this. And the guardian spirit beast will birth as many Nen beast eggs as is needed for the succession contest. And the princes will carry this egg unknowingly and the beast will take after its vessel in some way. We don't know the full implications of this quite yet, but based on the prince's personality, we can assume it will take after it in some way.
And so the whole point of this ritual and succession contest and whatnot is to pretty much hatch these Nen beasts, right?
Well, we'll get into it.
All right.
We're very early on. We'll learn more.
That's just the vibe I get from it, I guess, is the way they presented it to me.
So, meanwhile, Mizai and Kurapika are viewing a recording of them questioning Beyond and determine that he wasn't aware of Sayu being a traitor. So they figure it must mean that Periston was the mastermind behind this one, and that he is conspiring on the outside to free Beyond. Maybe. We don't actually know. They didn't talk about that at all. Later, Kurapika is informed that the six princes, not these six princes are hiring bodyguards right now for the Black Whale, which may end up being a loophole to get some spies through. So Kurapika calls in some familiar faces to be hired bodyguards by the six princes and gather information regarding Serednich. So we got 6 people, one of which is Kurapika. The other 5 are Izunavi. Do you remember this guy, Dylan? I'm very curious.
Izunavi. It sounds familiar. Oh, wait. Is this the guy who pretty much taught Kurapika about Nen? Yes, I remember.
This was his Nen teacher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's been a very long time since we've seen him.
I didn't realize in the moment reading this, I actually thought this was just like a random dude that I didn't remember.
No, yeah, these are all returning characters.
That's very cool.
Very obscure. Yes, he's back.
I'm surprised I remember that, considering he literally only showed up for that period of time and then never again.
He's not super important.
No.
But he is now.
Yeah.
We got Hanzo, our boy. Very nice to see him.
Love
we have Basho, who is from the York New City arc. He was one of the Nostrad bodyguards. Also from the same thing as Melody, our girl.
I'm still shocked that Melody is a part of the Nostrade business. Like, that's the most like unfitting person for that. And
I know, yeah.
It's really funny. Good to
God
see her
bless
again.
her, though. Yeah, I'm so happy she's here. She's the best. And then we got Biscuit.
Yes, love her. Happy to see her again.
Very happy she's here. It's a really cool crew. I mean, I already know what's going on with them, but I mean, it's nice to see them. I'm excited to see their involvement again. Kurapika's primary concern is just getting information on how to get close to Serednich. He even says that if he is able to shake his hand on the eve of departure, then boarding the ship wouldn't even be necessary. For everybody else, not him, because obviously he has another mission with the Zodiacs. But Bisky is concerned that she wouldn't get paid in this case, like if they left the ship early, and Kurapika says it should be obvious that they will get paid no matter what happens. Bisky gets really annoyed about this, and then Kurapika recalls what Killua told him over the phone about a way to make her eat out of your hand, which basically amounts to calling her pretty. It works very well, and it was a very funny moment.
Just the way Tagashi drew her in that moment, like, after that. Oh my gosh, I love her.
Kurapika basically just has to be like kind of insult her technically, but just by saying like, I wouldn't hire a delicate princess like you. This was a mistake, like that kind of thing, and that just serves as a compliment to her.
Yeah, she ate out of her hand for sure.
She sure did. Yeah.
Yeah, she listened up.
Yeah. So I love that moment. Kurapika goes to accept the job offering of one of the princes and tries to choose the best option to get him closest to Serednich, which he deduces. I notice how this is all one sentence, but this is 2 entire pages of deducing who the prince should be. Very not important information there.
It was the most like you know the meme of like you have like the different pictures on the billboard, like the red string going from like, each picture. Yeah, it was basically entire pages of Kurapika doing that.
It really was, yeah.
It was absurd.
But through his insane stringboard theory, he deduces that it should be Prince Hulkenberg that he gets hired by.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very smart, right?
Yeah, very smart. Good job. He accepts an offer that he thinks is Hulkenberg, and it's not him.
No.
So that was 2 pages wasted.
Yeah. Which I get the point is to make like the prince he's serving now even smarter, honestly. But
yes, which I'll get into in a second.
It was very funny to like have that page flip. It's like, nope, that is very wrong.
Yeah, very wrong. Instead, he will now be the bodyguard of 14th Prince Wobble, who is the youngest, and by young, literally a baby.
Yeah.
It's a girl, baby. Not that really even matters, but she can't even really open her eyes.
No.
This is
she's
very
young.
small baby. Probably not even a year old.
Mm-hmm.
So Kurapika is very surprised by the sight because he thought he really figured this thing out. And he is greeted by the mother Oito, who is the only mother we will ever learn the name of, really, because she's the only one that's here.
I mean, this is basically the speaking voice for the prince here.
Yes,
so, yeah.
She explains that it's probably a good thing that they got Kurapika because they were trying to get someone that would surmise that they were Hulkenberg. So they got exactly who they wanted, pretty much.
Yeah.
She goes on to give Kurapika the whole breakdown on the succession contest, which is stuff we already know, and how much danger they are truly in because, again, Wobble is a baby.
Yeah, that baby cannot fend for itself.
No, this is very bad, and the mother is probably pretty helpless too. Mm-hmm. She says that he will double his pay if he can manage to get them off the ship alive, or he could not even accept the job and still get paid the normal amount if he keeps the conversation they just had a secret. So very generous also.
Yeah, very trusting as well.
Very kind-hearted woman here. Kurapika says that if she agrees to the... Kurapika says that if she agrees to his conditions, he will protect them to the best of his abilities. She agrees and tells Kurapika that she came from poverty and thought that being the king's wife would be everything she dreamed of. But once she learned that she birthed a daughter into such an awful fate, she regretted everything. So she's basically trying to repent.
Right.
She then asks if Kurapika would like to hold her. We end on a very nice page of Kurapika holding Wobble and a quick look at who Kurapika's allies are bodyguarding and an ominous panel of the ceremony urn.
Very, very cool setup for what's to come here.
Yes.
And it was very touching. Just the whole, she thought marrying into royalty would be, everything she dreamed of, changing her life essentially, and now it's the exact opposite because
now her life is in danger as well as her child. I love that panel of Kurapika holding Wobble. He's kind of letting out the faintest smile.
Yeah, it's not even really a smile, but you can tell there's some there's some emotion behind that face for someone who very rarely feels any kind of emotion aside from anger.
Yeah. And real quick, the other people, this will be important later, obviously, but Izunavi is guarding Tyson, who is the woman with a male name for some reason. Bisky is guarding Mariam, who is the little boy, the 13th prince. Mm-hmm. Basho is guarding Loserus, who has the funniest name of all time. Melody is bodyguarding Kacho, who is the 10th prince. It's just a young girl. Mm-hmm. And Hanzo is with Momose, who is the 12th prince. Yeah,
so none of them are guarding very high-level princes, which is interesting.
Yeah, probably because they don't need it.
That's probably a good assumption. It's interesting that actually the person with the highest ranking prince is Izunavi, which would not have expected that.
Yeah, that is interesting, actually. Yeah,
not that number 6 is very high relative to
the top she 4. Definitely seems like one of the ones that aren't very invested in this. but we could be wrong.
Yeah, could be.
Who knows? And also, man, it's really messed up. Like the fact that the 13th prince, that's just like a little kid, man.
Yeah, he's just a little boy. Like
he's got to die. And even like, you know, what's really messed up to think about, and this is something we will definitely touch on more later, but just the fact that to defend Kurapika's the Wobble here, those other princes are gonna have to die.
Yeah, it's screwed up. There's not going to be a whole lot of winning on this expedition in general.
No.
Like there's going to be a lot of hardship, and that's very interesting to me.
Yes. It's that's the end of the volume, by the way. So that is a very cool way to set up an arc, if you ask me. I think this is so interesting.
Yeah. A good way to set up an arc and not end an arc.
Yeah, not do an entire arc in one volume like people want you to believe.
Yeah. I do not get that whatsoever. I think this is a fantastic setup to an entire like encompassing arc with subplots within the arc, and I cannot wait to read more about it.
Yes. Very, very good stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to mention that we may have skipped over or just came to your mind?
We went over pretty much everything that I wanted to touch on from these chapters that I've read. I'm just really excited to see more of Kurapika in general, especially because given the context of what's going to be happening on the ship with him trying to recover the eyes, we're going to see Kurapika in some kind of combat again, I'm sure, and just in action in general, and that's exciting to me because I just love the chains and brew time and all of that. Those abilities in general are very cool to me, and I can't wait to see more of that. But at the same time, it's nice to see the humanity surrounding Kurapika be explored as well. And so I guess that's my biggest takeaway from all of this is like I'm just excited to see more of Kurapika's journey. We touched on it in the introductory episode, but he's definitely one of my favorites. So if I had to pick like something that stood out to me throughout all this, it's Kurapika and the setup for what's to come with him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, but other than that, we pretty much touched on everything, and I cannot wait to read more.
Yes. All right. Well, then, that's about all we have to say about Volume 33. Next week, if you are reading along with us by chance, you can read Volume 34. We will cover it at the same time. It should be up, assuming this episode goes up on either Sunday or Monday. The next episode will be up the same day, Sunday or Monday. And just read it before then and read along with us. And if you would like to, you can comment on the YouTube version. We would love to hear any additional thoughts about the volumes we read. I'd love to read them on the show. That'd be awesome. Maybe one day we'll find another way to get some comments from people. If we grow an audience big enough, maybe we'll open up a Twitter or something. We'll see.
Could be an idea, yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, this has been the Hunter Association. Thank you so much for listening. We are available on all major podcast platforms as well as YouTube for a video version. Dylan, where can the people find you online?
Yeah, I'm most active on Twitter. You can find me at DJ Tengen. That's DJTENGEN. Very recognizable. You'll see probably a chopper icon, assuming it's the same. I don't change it within a week. Unlikely. I talk about gaming and anime and manga on there. Retweet some random things here and there. If you want to see what I'm up to, you can find me there on Twitter.
Right on. And you could find me on Twitter at Kaige10. That's KAIGE10. And I do mostly the same thing. Just tweet about anime and manga and sometimes games. Very rarely these days, though, honestly. But a lot of anime and manga. So check me out there if you want. You can feel free to tweet at us, too, I guess, in the meantime, if we don't have a Twitter set up for the podcast itself.
I would love to see if you have anything to say about our podcast.
Yeah, and you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We'll probably read those on the show if you write a review as well. Pretty much any feedback at this point we will read on the show since we are new enough. So get in while you can.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for listening or watching, and we will catch you guys on the next one for Volume 34.
Cannot wait. See you there.